Today we're going to do a video looking at collectible card games. Collectible card games. What are the collectible card games? They are games that you can play that are a lot of fun. Like, I'm going to buy a deck of cards. Ooh, that's a nice deck of cards you got there. Awesome. Let's play a game. Ooh. Minutes later. But that was a fun game. But man, I wish there were more cards that I could play with. Oh, well there are. What do you mean? Oh, you're a collectible card game. That means you can go back to the store and buy more cards. That'll make your game even more advanced, and you'll have more chances to play different situations in different games. Oh, holy shit! Wow, that's amazing. So you're saying that I can go back to the store and buy more of me? Well, yes you can. Well, that's great. So anyway, card games. Collectible card games are a game where you buy a booster or starter or buy a box of cards or whatever. You get a specific set of rules. Every game has different rules. This one has a big rule book. Basically you play the card game, you get good at it, and if you enjoy it, you go and buy more so that you can play more. You can play more games then. You can play against other people. You can see, like, holy cow, I've been buying or playing this game for, a year or two, and I found this other guy who plays this game online. I found him online, and he plays like 2 cities over, so we drove to his house and we played a game, or whatever. And most people probably are familiar with the popular games, which is like Pokemon or like a Magic: The Gathering. Magic is a big one. I've got some Magic cards, and I just want to quickly go over some of these games that I am into and see if there's any other players out there that are, interested in the same thing I am or whatever. So I'm going to quickly go over. Obviously, you just saw Imagination. Imagination's a really fun collectible card game. Here's Magic. Here's a deck that I have. I have a green deck. It's nothing spectacular. I actually built this like 8 or 9 years ago. Quite a while ago. There's a wall of wood. In Magic, the whole point of the game is to get mana cards, and you tap the mana by... If you don't know the rules of Magic, it's kind of hard to explain just sitting here. I could explain it over like 15-20 minutes, but it's a really easy game to catch on to. You play mana cards to bring out creatures or spells or items or artifacts or whatever. The creatures have flavor text here, which is like whatever it says it does, and then or whatever it talks about the character, and then it has like, here, you may play this card to do whatever to somebody. And it also has a number. It has a number and then a / and another number. The first number is power. The second number is toughness. Yeah, power and toughness. Power, toughness. Power is its attack points. Toughness is its hit points. So then you'd fight. Then the guy across from you would be doing the same thing. He'd be playing mana cards to bring out creatures, items, special, magics, whatever. And and you just play. You play card games like that. It's a pretty fun game. I've got a couple cards, a couple decent cards here. This whole deck, the whole point of this deck, back in, let's see what year this was, 95? When I started playing Magic. I actually started playing Magic in like 93 or 94, but this card I thought was one of the most amazing cards ever, and I have 4 of them in this deck, and it never really pans out for me, but this actually has a summoning cost of 3 trees, 3 green and 3 colorless mana, so it takes 6 mana to bring it into play. And it has a power and toughness equal to the number of forests I control. So the whole point of bringing this out is to have like 8 forests out, and a forest is a mana. So when I bring this guy out, he's an 8/8 creature when he's defending. When he's attacking, his power and toughness is equal to your opponent's green mana. So when he's in play, when he attacks, he actually also has a special whatever that's called, an ability where if you tap him, his target land becomes a basic forest until Gaia's leaves play. So it basically, until this character's dead, you can turn your opponent's land into forests. So basically every turn you're doing that, you're turning more and more of his land into forests, and then he becomes stronger by doing that, whatever, for attacking. You get 4 of those out in the game, and if your opponent has, say, black mana, and every turn you're turning 4 of his mana into green, it can turn into a pretty big nuisance for your opponent, and you could probably start crushing him. The only problem is getting 4 guys' leashes into play is next to impossible in the game. But that's Magic. I've got that. We also have a tin. This came out, I don't even know what year this came out, but you can't even see it all. But it's a Magic tin that came out. It was for the Garfield and Finkel into like the creator and one of the champions or something like that edition, and there's a bunch of cards in there too. I don't know. I don't play Magic at all competitively anymore. I don't play unless I'm just playing for funsies. But I do have a deck, and I usually bring it with me to nerdy game conventions, just in case there's other players there and then we can play against each other. That's pretty fun. Star Wars, the collectible card game, a customizable card game. This is actually done by Decipher. This was probably a mid-90s game as well. Very cool game. I know that Wizards of the Coast wound up purchasing Star Wars later on, which kind of stunk because they ruined it. They really made a crappy card game out of it, but the Decipher game, a very fun game, is based on the original trilogy. So yeah, Star Wars, Empire, and Return of the Jedi. Anyway, there's a lot of different cards here, different characters. The gameplay is very different than Magic. And I can't even actually remember how to play this. I actually probably know how to play Star Trek more than I remember how to play Star Wars. And I think I've got Star Trek cards somewhere, but I don't know. But the pictures are all based from the movie, and the flavor text and the characters and everything. The names, it's kind of interesting seeing like a character like that guy, and it's like, wow, that was like a split second in, Star Wars, and his name is Advoshe or Advoske or whatever. And Tusken Raiders, Prophetess. It's really interesting. It's a good Star Wars base card game. If you can find it still, it's probably pretty difficult to find. Star Wars is a customizable card game by Decipher. And I bet you it's been more than 10 years since I played that. But I still got some cards. I got a couple other ones. I got binders full of some of these too. This is the Vampire, the Eternal Struggle card game. This is also done, it was done by White Wolf, because White Wolf owns the Vampire franchise, but it was actually created by Wizards of the Coast before Wizards became the giant monster that it is nowadays. It was actually done right around the time when they were doing Magic. And the game, if you look at it, it says like Vampire Deckmaster. This is very similar to what a Magic card looks like, and the cards themselves are kind of similar too. The game plays similar to Magic again. It's just quite a bit more advanced. I think it was one of the most difficult card games that were ever released. I've only played it like 3 or 4 times, but the 3 or 4 times that I did play it, I thought it was so awesome that I just bought up a bunch of it because it was really cheap. Before White Wolf took it back and basically called it Vampire, Wizards of the Coast created it, called it Jihad. And that's what I wound up collecting, was most of the Jihad cards. And I don't have any recollection as to how to play this. I assume that the cards are super similar to Magic, though. I mean, they have the same look to them almost, even. But, yeah, so, Vampire, I can't remember for the life of me how to play it, but, got some cards in case someone jumps up and says, you don't know how to play that? Here, I'll show you, and then I can be like, yay, that's so awesome. There's a demo of it on YouTube on how to play it. That's so cool, because I've got all these cards. Then that brings me to these last 2 that I want to talk about. Actually, no, I got 3 more that I want to talk about. More games that I play. I'll talk about Imagination first. I've got a couple decks. I've got this whole crap thing is full of Imagination cards. This is probably the second, it's probably the second largest collection of cards that I've got. I believe there's like over 1,000 cards here. I got more. Imagination's really fun. I got huge into this whenever it first came out. Got introduced to it like 10 or 11 years ago by some people from Gen Con, of course. And they had shown me how to play. It was a demo thing that they did, and I just thought it was really cool. I thought it was a really cool game. It's very similar to Magic. Big shocker there. Card game's similar to Magic. It's interesting, I got some demo cards. I don't know if these are worth more than anything else, but this is actually when they were demoing it. It was 2000, so 13 years ago. Holy crap. But it's a really cool game. The creatures, they have their strength in the top corner, so that's like their 4. It's like their power and toughness. They're basically like a 4/4 creature. The only problem that I ever had with this card game is that every single card has text on it on how to play it. Every single card. I've never seen one that's just blank. Like, never seen one that just comes out into play and it's just a grunt, you know, a 3/3 monster that you can just bring out really easy. Everything has text, and it's not just, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of text. It's like, there's so much stuff here you gotta read. And unless you're really familiar with the cards, and that comes with, you know, the more you play, the more you get familiar with it, the more difficult it is to play. You're playing cards for the first time, you're trying to learn a game, and it's like, man, how do I play this? How do I play this? So usually when you're teaching somebody how to play Imagination, you usually say, let's just ignore the text and just play the game. And the way it plays is you have Magi. And Magi, at first I was looking at this deck, and I was like, why are there only 2 Magi? In the game Imagination, you play with 3 Magi. And basically, like in Magic, you have 20 hit points on average. On an average card game, you have 20 hit points for you. Like your characters and your monsters have hit points, but you yourself have hit points, and that's what you're trying to do, is kill the other opponent. Like if I was playing a guy named George and I'm Joshua, and I was trying to kill George, I'd take away his 20 hit points and then I'd win the game of Magic. In Imagination, you have 3 Magi, and the 3 Magi basically play the role of you. Your Magi comes into play just like this character, and this one's called the Dark Twins. And the reason why this deck only has 2 Magi is because the Dark Twins actually count as 2 Magi. And I believe it's down here too. It says all rules for Shadow Magi apply to the Magi. It counts as 2. Oh yeah, the Dark Twins count as 2 Magi for deck construction. So you have to use these as 2. That's why it has a very large hit points at 26 there. So basically, in Magic, you have the 20 or whatever number that you set. These are the amount of hit points that your Magi have. And they also have Energize points. And you basically, in Imagination, as opposed to Magic, you use a pool of like tokens. Like you just grab like pennies or else little like blood points or something like that. And every turn, your Magi energizes, and they gain like 7 Magi points or energy points. I think it's called energy points. And you could use that in the same idea, in the same way as like mana in Magic. You would use like 4 energy to bring this spell into play. You would use 4 energy to bring this character into play, or whatever, you know, and so on and so forth. And the characters come out and they do battle a very similar way to Magic. And it's a really fun game, really, really well done. It's really cool because I always thought in Magic a game could be over so quickly. In this one, it's almost like you have 3 chances. When your Magi dies, you flip it over and you're dead. But then you bring your new Magi into play, and then you have like a whole new set of cards. And you almost have like an advantage, like in hockey, like if there was a 5-on-4 power play or something like that. You have a way to make a really nice comeback, and the other guy is kind of like, oh crap, I'm in trouble because this Magi is all fully powered and he's got all this energy and whatever. But it's a really fun game. If anybody's interested, I could go into more depth. I do have the book here, so I can go through. I also like the 6 steps. Your first phase is energize, then power relic spells and attack, then play new creatures and power relic spells. And the steps of a turn in this game make it also very unique and different from any other game. Because like Magic, you untap, upkeep, you know, and then draw cards or whatever. In this game, it's like the 6 steps is energize, then you cast power, relics, and spells. And then you actually do the fighting and the battling of the round, and then you do power, relics, and spells again. So you actually have a turn. In one turn, you have a way to play spells or relics or powers or anything like that 2 times. And it really, really helps the gameplay make it more unique in a different type of game. And then at the end of your turn, you draw your card instead of at the beginning of your turn. And it seems like really small, little stupid things, but really it does make a huge difference in the type of game, and it's a lot of fun. I got a lot of Imagination cards, and if there's anybody who wants to ever play, let's play. One other card game. I know I'm getting lengthy on this video, but this is actually one of my absolute favorites, Warlord. This is my 2nd favorite card game I've ever played. Actually, it's a collectible card game, just like all the rest of them. But this one is almost just like playing D&D. And I say that because it's strictly just the battles. You don't play mana, you don't have to, you know, sit there and try to construct your deck properly. You just are in a battle. period. Warlord, done by AEG. This is done by the same team that did, what's that, the Legend of the Five Rings or whatever. Yeah, that's an okay game. Legend of the Five Rings is actually, Warlord is actually loosely based on Legend of the Five Rings, because Legend of the Five Rings has a really good battle system, but it's got a whole bunch of other game techniques and gameplay elements, whereas this one's just fighting. Pure and simple. There's only fighting. Like, your whole goal is to kill your opponent's Warlord. And there are, let's see, here's a character, Dwarf. The character cards are so simple. He has a +3 to melee strikes. His hit points are 12. Actually, no, his AC is 12. This is AC, that's attack bonus for melee strikes. He's a level 2 because it's got the number 2 there. And this is a gauntlet. The picture is probably a little fuzzy on this stupid internet thing, but it's a gauntlet. It has a number 2 inside of it. That means he is a dwarf fighter that is level 2. And because it's white, that means he's good. If it was black, like the guy behind him, that means he's evil. Good, evil, simple. Down here is a +1 to like challenge rolls or like saving throws, and the 1 here is its hit points. And you're thinking, well, 1 hit point. Really, that means that if anybody attacks him and hits higher than the AC of 12, then this character dies. And that's it. And there's some other characters that have more hit points than that. See this guy right here? He's got an AC of 11, but his hit points are 2, so it takes 2 hits to kill this guy. All of these characters have melee bonuses or no bonuses, like a +0. Some of them have negatives even, where if he is not good up close, but he's really good at a distance. And they all have text on it too for orders. They all have their normal things. In this world, you can't say tapping, so you have to say like a spent. So if you turn him once, he's spent, and if he's upside down, then he's really spent or something like that. I can't really remember what the words are. But Warlord's a lot of fun. The way it's set up, and I could make a whole nother video on how to play Warlord, and I really should, because it's a really freaking awesome game. If people don't play it very often, then they really should, because if you play card games, you should really play Warlord, because it's actually, I think it's much better than Magic. It's even better than, it's better than just about everything. It plays like D&D. You use a D20 to attack. That's how you get the AC. So if you hit the AC, if you take your bonus like a +3, you roll a dice and you get an 11. Well, his AC is 15. You only got a 14, so you miss. That's really the whole game. And your whole goal of the game is to kill the Warlords. And that is Warlord. That's the game of Warlord. You think, it doesn't sound all that much fun. There's a whole bunch more gameplay elements where you got to worry about like rankings, and you got to worry about all sorts of other things that make the game really unique and really fun. If you know how to play D&D, if you know how to do a battle in D&D, you probably know how to play this game. You just need to learn how to do the rankings and stuff, which sometimes throws people off, but really, it's an awesome game. This instruction booklet is incredibly thin. It's really easy to learn, but it takes lifetime to master, as they usually say. And now, I'm going to go over my absolute favorite card game of all time. Yes, that's right. Spellfire. A game made by TSR based on the Dungeons & Dragons universe. This game is completely different than any other card game. I think that crappy company, FASA, is it FASA? No, not FASA, sorry, I like FASA. Fantasy Flight. Fantasy Flight I'm not the biggest fan of, because I think they just make games that completely rip off other games. But Fantasy Flight made a card game a few years ago called Kingdom Hearts, which had the exact same gameplay elements as Spellfire. Like, I'm shocked at how identical it is to Spellfire. But Spellfire is a game, came out in the early 90s, 94, 95, and then it kind of died out in 96, 97, 98. I got huge into it, mostly on accident, because I went to a comic and card shop in the local area here looking for more Magic cards. And when I got into it in 94 and 95, you couldn't find Magic cards anywhere. This one comic shop that was like 15 miles away, I biked to it, or else I'd get a ride from my mom to it, and I kept going there, and they were always sold out of Magic cards. Every time I would go there, he'd be like, I'll get some in Monday morning. I'd run down there Monday morning, and he's like, one guy came and bought them all. It's like, are you kidding me? All they want is Magic cards. And so when I went there, and he had sold out of Magic cards again, I said, you know what, I'm not going home empty-handed. And I wanted to buy something, and I had 20 bucks on me, so I bought 2 starter decks of Spellfire. Went home. I have a couple instructions here. You almost have to have instructions with you at all times, because this game gets a little complicated in some specific events, and you also need to memorize or have handy the turn sequence. The turn sequence can get a little confusing. That's this whole thing here is the turn sequence. But the game is really awesome. I've taught it to a lot of people, and every time I teach it to people, they usually wind up really liking it. And I could make another video on how to play Spellfire too. I think that would be a lot of fun. But this game is completely different than any other game because it's completely, well, first off, it's got D&D characters in it. So if you grew up playing D&D, you might just already like this game because of the characters that are in it are awesome. You're going to see like art and characters from the old pen and paper games that you played when you were a kid. And if some of these you might find familiar already. The lands too that you can go to or build in this game are all from the real D&D universe. So they're all like on real maps, on real D&D maps, and you can build them and raise them or destroy them or whatever you want. Characters are all also from the D&D universe, like I said. But this game is strictly based on building. You want to build lands in your world, and the first one to build 6 lands wins the game. So in Spellfire, you play a land to try to win the game. You want to put out 6 lands to win the game. In Magic, you play land strictly as mana to bring out other characters. Ooh, mania. Sir Hierogard, I played an RPG in Ravenloft that had that character in it. Elminster the Mage. Who has not seen that art before? Elminster's like one of the greatest characters ever. Drizzt Do'Urden, classic character. Awesome character from the game. But anyway, from D&D World. Basically, your whole goal is to put out 6 lands, and the first one that puts out 6 lands that are not attacked wins the game. And you're thinking, well, okay, how does it happen? Well, every turn you can put out 1 land. And that also means that every turn, your opponent, when it comes to their turn, they can take one of their characters that they brought out, like say Drizzt himself, and he can attack your land. So then you're worried about, you're trying to defend that character that is trying to attack your land with another character, so you bring in a character of your own in, and then you have a battle. And the battles in Spellfire are completely different than anything else because you basically can play any items or any spells or anything constantly back and forth until finally one person either doesn't have any more cards in their hand or just doesn't want to play anymore. And then whoever has the higher number, like here's a +4 or a +1 that you can throw on to your character, basically wins the fight then. So say Drizzt, who is he's like an 8, and he attacks the land. He's an 8, and he attacks the land, and I want to defend with Elminster, who's a 9. Well, Elminster would win, so I would successfully defend my land. So then Drizzt's like, well, screw that, I'm going to throw this +1 on it, and that would make it a tie. And I believe, I'd have to look at the rule book, but I think ties go to the defender. So then, if you put a +4 on it, then he would be a 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 versus a 9. So then Elminster, who went into battle trying to bravely defend the land, would then get killed, and he would then take the land and destroy it. So that one land that I put down is now I'm back down to 0 again. It's basically, I think in Spellfire, this is considered a land, and then you flip it over, and that's called a raised land, or something like that. I haven't played this in a year or two. But I've got a couple decks. I've got a lot of binders full of cards. It's a really, really fun game. It's my absolute favorite card game ever. You have to go through the rule book again to kind of brush up on the rules and stuff like that, but really, really a lot of fun. And yeah, so this is another hobby of ours. We play card games and stuff. Not only just all video games here in the Game Den, we also play card games and role-playing games and board games and stuff, so... And also read books. Like, look, I'm reading Castle Rudner right now. Anyway. Yeah, so that was it. I just wanted to share some collectible card games with you. And if you have any questions or comments, put them in the comments below on the YouTube video, and we'll go ahead and go through that, and I will definitely try to answer any questions. And I'll do more videos coming up later, too. I've got a lot of, look at this, a Imagination binder. Yeah, I'm really into this thing. I've got Dragon Storm cards. What are Dragon Storm cards? Dragon Storm is a role-playing card game. Yeah, I'll do that in another video, because I could go on forever. But anyway, till next time, enjoy your day.